Hey. Hey, yo, Sap, what's good, bruh? This man's kinda high out here.
Welcome, this is Mind Over Matter. I'm Mihai, and I'll be your host right now. Today I want to take a look at President Trump's first month in office. Now, before even being sworn in, Trump began to fulfill his promise of draining the swamp. During his inaugural address, Trump gave thanks to his supporters.
Chief Justice Roberts, President Carter, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, fellow Americans, and people of the world, thank you.
People of the world? Alright, thanks Marshall. After the rainy ceremony, our new president addressed the less than optimal weather.
Draw well, I said, it was almost raining. The rain should have scared him away, but God looked down and he said, we're not going to let it rain on your speech. But the truth is that it stopped immediately. It was amazing. And then it became really sunny. Then I walked off and it poured right after I left. It poured.
How'd that saying go?
Fool me once. Shame on you. You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Now, in response to Trump's blatant lies, Counselor to the President, Kellyanne Conway, heroically took to her president's defense.
To answer the question of why the president asked the White House press secretary to come out in front of the podium for the first time and utter a falsehood.
You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that.
Just a few days after the inauguration, Press Secretary Sean Spicer, or Sean Sphincter, as his college newspaper allegedly referred to him, owed the burden of addressing the press on everything the president says and does. And as Trump has claimed that the national unemployment rate is 48%, the press wanted clarification.
I mean, what's the overall unemployment rate?
Are you talking about whether or not we include the full?
I'm just asking you.
I mean, the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts it out.
You accept.
No. It's not a question of what I accept.
Trump at one point said it was 42%.
It's not just a number to him. He's not focused on statistics as much as he is on whether or not the American people are doing better as a whole.
If the national unemployment rate is a feeling, that's like failing an exam and asking your professor to give you an A because you feel terrific. To be fair, you can't expect much from Press Secretary, who reportedly chews and swallows at least 35 pieces of Orbit cinnamon gum each day. In reality, the national unemployment rate is actually 4.7%, which is low. However, Trump won't acknowledge this because he wants us to be impressed when it drops to 10%. Just 5 days into the presidency, Trump has managed to sign a dozen executive orders. But what do they mean? In one of his executive orders, Trump names his inauguration date as National Day of Patriotic Devotion. I guess this means Russia has off from work on January 20th? On a more serious note, Trump signed an order on protecting the nation from foreign terrorist entry into the United States. The order suspended the entry of immigrants from 7 Muslim-majority countries: Syria, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Sudan, Yemen, and Somalia. The executive order had families broken apart and essentially held hostage or deported back to where they came from. How did the president react?
Instead of paying attention to the demonstrations occurring in response to his order to ban citizens of 7 Muslim-majority countries, the White House screened the 2016 Pixar film Finding Dory at 3 p.m. Sunday.
Classic. But when 4 federal judges ruled against the travel ban, trigger fingers turned to Twitter fingers.
The opinion of the so-called judge, which essentially takes law enforcement away from our country, is ridiculous and will be overturned.
In response, Judge Gorsuch, Trump's own Supreme Court nominee, said that Trump's comments toward the judicial system were demoralizing and disheartening. Gorsuch is lucky Trump can't yet understand those big words. Mom, help me! Moving on to foreign policy. Trump has been acting like a needy girlfriend who needs constant affirmation that her hands are in fact normal sized. Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany, had to set aside time to explain to Trump that the Geneva Refugee Convention does not allow him to ban refugees. Also, Theresa May, Prime Minister of the UK, has been teaching the royal protocols to Trump because he so terribly wants to meet the Queen. Let's hope Theresa reminds Trump not to grab her by the pussy. Meanwhile, Trump is slowly getting closer to making peace with Mexico.
You have a bunch of bad hombres down there, Trump told Enrique Peña Nieto. You aren't doing enough to stop them. I think your military is scared. Our military isn't. So I just might send them down to take care of it.
With spring break so close, it's hard to know if Trump is talking about Mexican drug lords or all the coked out college students. Finally, Trump hung up on the Prime Minister of Australia after a heated phone call. Apparently, but not surprisingly, Trump was unaware of a deal made by the Obama administration to accept a couple thousand refugees from Australia.
Do you believe it? The Obama administration agreed to take thousands of illegal immigrants from Australia. Why? I will study this dumb deal.
Trump gets defensive after the media speculated that his chief strategist, Steve Bannon, may be the one who's really making major policy decisions at the White House. It turns out it was Bannon's idea to have the travel ban. Also, Trump didn't even know the contents of one of the executive orders he signed in which Bannon secretly placed himself on the National Security Council. Could Steve Bannon be the real president? America didn't vote for Steve Bannon, but I guess America didn't vote for Trump either. In other news,
turns out the Pentagon may be renting space at Trump Tower here in New York.
Yep, this would allow military personnel to work alongside the president when he's back home in New York City. And the rent would only cost over $1 million per year. So if Melania, Donald, Department of Defense, and the Secret Service is living at the Trump Tower, who's in charge at the White House? Alright. Trump showed off yet another one of his lapdogs, senior advisor Stephen Miller.
And the whole world will soon see, as we begin to take further actions, that the powers of the president to protect our country are very substantial and will not be questioned.
This guy looks like one of those cartoon characters out of Grand Theft Auto. Trump took the world by surprise when he held his first ever solo press conference.
To be honest, I inherited a mess. It's a mess. We're becoming a drug-infested nation. Drugs are becoming cheaper than candy bars.
Who's your plug, my guy? Hook it up. He then went on to boast about his presidential win.
People got 306 electoral college votes. I wasn't supposed to get 222. They said there's no way to get 222. 230 is impossible. 270, which you need, that was laughable. We got 306. I guess it was the biggest electoral college win since Ronald Reagan.
But it turns out this was an alternative fact.
You said, I just want to get on the table. Very simply, you said today that you had the biggest electoral margin since Ronald Reagan with 304, 306 electoral votes. In fact, President Obama got 365 and 2.
Well, I'm talking about Republican.
President Obama 332 and George H.W. Bush 426 when he won as president. So why should Americans trust?
Well, no, I was given that information. I don't know. I was just given. We had a very, very big margin.
I guess my question is, why should Americans trust you when you accuse the information they receive of being fake when you're providing information that's...
Well, I don't know. I was given that information. I've seen that information around. But it was a very substantial victory. Do you agree with that?
And to finish off his first month, Trump held a rally in Florida. Trump mentioned the world's most recent terror attack.
You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden. They took in large numbers. They're having problems like they never thought possible.
But in reality, nothing had happened in Sweden. Carl Bildt, ex-Prime Minister of Sweden, tweeted to Trump,
Sweden? Terror attack? What is even smoking? Questions abound.
I would also like to know. Lastly, Trump offered Mexico some helpful advice.
Come here. Come here. It's okay. Let him up. Let him up. I'm not worried about him. And come on up here. Come on up. Guy was great. Hop over the fence. Come on. He can do it.
Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time on Mind Over Matter.